Kenneth Branagh is back with his glorious giant mustache that is just the best thing I've ever seen in the world. It's so good. And so is this movie. I had a really great time with Death on the Nile. We've traded one transportation vehicle to another. So instead of a train in the snow, now we're on a boat in the sun. And it's a great film. I had a lot of fun, but I've never seen Death on the Nile. I've never read Death on the Nile, the book. I've never read any Agatha Christie. Murder on the Orient Express, when I saw Kenneth Branagh's reimagining his version, it was the first time I saw it. At the end, spoilers, when they're all like, which one of you was it? It was all of you! I was like, what? All of them? That's crazy! What? Love that film. Seen it a couple of times, so I was really keen to jump back into this one, and having just rewatched the last one, I was really keen to jump back in straight away, because if anyone remembers, bloody the last film, he's finished, he's like, I've done this case, and it's so I'm sad, but I'll let it, that whole film. He gets off, and then a man's like, Mr. Poirot! Mr. Hercule Poirot! The famous detective! I've got another case for you! Agatha Christie's second most famous book! Death on the Nile! There's been a death on the bloody Nile! And it's like, alright, that's funny. I've never read any of her books, but I'm aware of Murder on the Orient Express, and I'm aware of Death on the Nile. So it was fun to be like, we're going to do Death on the Nile. There's going to be a sequel. A little bit of sequel teasing, Every movie does it now. And I liked this. It was fun. I'm like, I can't wait for the story to pick up straight away. And then straight away, this movie starts, and it's like, 3 years later. Well, it doesn't say that, but it is. I just watched the movie. It's 3 years later. And I'm like, what? But what about the other movie where you said you were immediately going to the Nile because there's a bloody murder on the Nile in Egypt? What? And then this movie starts and like, you just solved that case in Egypt or something. He's like, I did. I bloody did. Took you 3 years? But then this movie is also a case in Egypt on the bloody Nile. This is the Death on the Nile. They're two? I don't know. It just felt bizarre to have like it's the same director, same actors, it's the same crew and shit. Like, I don't know. I was just like, huh. It's a weird way to start it. Like, anyone who rewatched the other one, in hype for this one, is going to be kind of hit with just like, what? Why? Why contradict? And then it becomes very clear, very early on, the one main reason that they're going to contradict. And I do take, like, straight away, I was like, I take this back. I'm not actually annoyed. Just like a bit weird, kind of, Book is back. Last time, there was a train filled with every single person. There was the person who died, the 12 people who did it, and Hercule Poirot, the greatest detective in the world, and one other guy. So there's only really one other guy you could bring back for a sequel. Book, played by some guy I don't know from things, but he was good in that. He was really great. I really liked him. Really liked, just his sleazy kind of different kind of character, very opposite to Poirot, but him and Kenneth Branagh really got along, and I liked that they were friends. So it was really fun to have him back, to have another character back that isn't going to be under suspicion. Kind of like a sidekick, if you will. And I really like that idea. And so despite being kind of like thrown by the fact that they completely disregard the continuity of last time, or just lots of deaths on the Nile and he's solving all of them. Fine, I guess that was it. I'm getting way too detracted on this one issue. It really wasn't that big of a deal. I've actually got another issue that I was kind of fun, more of a big deal, but that's also something I'm probably wrong about. We'll get to that. But anyway, Book, he was great. I really liked him. Really fun character to have. I love that he's like, I'm here with the only woman I ever loved, my mother. And I'm like, ha, because there's a sleaze bag. But then it turns out, actually, he does love someone else on the Nile on the big boat trip. And speaking of love, because sometimes you're watching a film and you're like, what's this theme? What's this film's theme? What is, what's the overarching theme of this movie? It's out of my grasp. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't figure it out. Not this movie. This movie is like, we are not only going to batter you over the head with the theme, we are going to have the main character just say it like 50 times. Every single character, at one point or another, they're going to have an elusive moment together. And then he's going to be like, Kenneth Branagh's going to be like, but actually, you weren't in your bed, it wasn't his. And he does all his detective work with bed, linen and all this stuff. And you're like, oh my God, he's so clever and it's so awesome. And then he's like, you're in the bed together. Love! It was love! And then he's like, and this, because of love! So, I'm making it sound like I didn't like it. So the movie's theme is love. It is, if Murder on the Orient Express was more about grief and revenge, this one, it's just about love. and what love, what you'll do for love, but really just love in all its facets. Every single character on this big boat, this lavish, beautiful boat, this big expensive boat that we get to spend the movie on. Every single character is in love with another character or is doing something for love, and this for love. Love is just continuously mentioned. In last movie, Poirot had this long lost love, this love, Katerina, who we get very little hints towards. And in this film, we get a little bit more with that, and it's really great. And all the kind of stuff towards this, I think that like sometimes you can be like, this theme is it's too much. But this film for me, it felt really, really clean. It felt really pure, and it felt really beautiful, and just like heartwarming at times, tragic and heartbreaking at times. And I really liked just how everything was intermingled via this one very, very pure theme, love. And I think it really, really worked. I could totally see someone watching this and getting the opposite vibe entirely and being like, whoa, this was so heavy-handed. Oh, I can totally understand that. But I don't know, I was just sitting there in the cinema and it just totally worked for me. This whole film was really, really beautiful. We get more with Poirot, and we actually get a flashback. The movie starts, in fact, with a flashback, black and white. So it's set in World War I, and we get this shot through the trenches, all black and white, and there's a big one-shot for ages, replicating 1917, and we're just like going through, and then we see a man with a glorious Hercule Poirot mustache, and we're like, it's him! It's Kenneth Branagh, but it's not Kenneth Branagh. It's, a younger actor playing him. Because we don't do de-aging in this film. And he's like, look at my mustache. Oh, I'm the captain. And then suddenly, it pans over and we actually get Kenneth Branagh without a mustache. Shock. Gasp. I was like, who is this young man? And then I was suddenly like, dude, he's so young. What? De-aging has gotten so good, I do not understand how they can get it to look so good. He looked incredible. But I do have one issue with that whole opening scene that really kind of started the film off on just a bizarre note. So we've got young, fresh, de-aged Kenneth Branagh, and he's all non-mustachy. And the whole time I'm like, oh, this is the most classic movie flashback origins thing I've ever seen. We're gonna get a mustache origins. That's right, the greatest character in Hercule Poirot. I mean, once again, I'm so sorry, any actual Hercule Poirot fans, anyone who's read all the books, seen that show that everyone loves, all that stuff. I'm sorry, this is literally the second movie. This is the sequel to the only other thing I've seen him in. The only thing I know about him is he's the self-proclaimed greatest detective ever. Sorry, Poirot, that's Batman. You're second best. But he also has the most glorious mustache in the world. Batman sure doesn't have that, so you've got that on him. So if anything, you're a better man, because that mustache, I honestly can't stress how much I love the mustache. But he doesn't have a mustache at first. So it's like, okay, we're going to get an origin. And obviously, the captain with the mustache, his mustache looks exactly the same. He's going to die and he's going to be like, oh, grow the mustache for you. But we get like a little bit more, a little bit different, and something that kind of, in theory, I really, really like, especially when we end the movie and he's like, spoilers. This is all spoilers. Stop watching if you haven't seen it. Spoilers. At the end where he's like, I don't have a mustache. The whole thing works, but, we get this scene where a big explosion, the captain dies, and he's like, oh, and he's like, his face isn't there, and he's looking at his love, Katerina, whatever her name is. I'm sorry, I forgot, I'm sorry. And she's looking over, and she's like, turn your face. And he does the Dark Knight thing where he's two-faced, and he's like, look at the other side of my face. It's all mutilated and monstrous. Sorry, monstrous is the wrong word. It's very, very brutally scarred. And he's like, you won't love me. You won't be able to love me. Look at my face. And she's like, haha, it's all good. It's all good, buddy. You can just grow a mustache. And then, like, the titles appear. Like it's a sitcom. Like it's going to come up with being like, and then he grew a mustache. A really surreal start to the movie. I kind of feel like it played almost like a joke, but the scene's been really brutal. Like, he's got completely scarred and horrifically scarred. His captain's died. The mood has been really ominous. Like, he saves his, whole troop or, army thing. All the boys in the army, he saves them with some detective kind of, stuff. Using his brain and his intellect and all that kind of stuff. His intuition, I think that's what they say. But, I don't know. Her saying, he'll grow a mustache because everyone knows you're Hercule Poirot with a giant, cool, hilarious, sexy mustache. Just felt a bit weird. I don't know, just the tone of it all just felt a bit like, oh. And I think the rest of the film is actually really, really good with the tone and balancing bits of humor and, the thrilling suspense and mystery and drama and all those things. But this start was just like, I feel like you've really gotten off into a rocky start here. not really sure this works, especially because it's like, one, okay, if he'd had a couple of scars on his upper lip, I'd be like, yeah. His entire one side of the face is completely ripped open. Like, that man is never recovering. And like, we immediately then get a shot of him with his glorious mustache, and all this other face, just clean, just pure, just no scars. Dude is never recovering. That whole part of his face would be... So, I don't know, the art direction and like the makeup was just like too extreme. It doesn't make sense later. So, I don't know, I think this is the biggest issue of the movie. And you start right off with it. I actually really liked the rest. I thought it was really, really fun, really mysterious. I didn't know who was who, what's what. And all the stuff, all the acting was really, really good. Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, she's amazing in this. I sometimes find her a bit like, is she a good actor? Is she not? I can't tell. This, I think she did a really great job. There's some really intense, like, pathos moments with her where, like, they could really trouble finding, like, like, at one point she's like, oh, it's tough being rich. It's tough being rich. No one's your friend. That's hard to sell. That can be hard to sell to the audience being like, oh, bloody a rich guy complaining. But, like, her emotions and, like, the pathos we got from that scene and just, like, I don't know, her acting was really, really good. Really liked her in the film. She was really great. Everyone's great. This is another star-studded cast. If you're a big famous actor and you're on some kind of transportation and then Kenneth Branagh walks on, bloody watch out, because someone's going to die. So last thing on the mustache. I swear this is the last thing I'm talking about the mustache. I will get off the mustache. I promise. I probably won't. It's so glorious. But, so, he's like, oh, I'm scarred up. I'm going to grow a mustache. Origin story for the mustache. Mustache origin story. Here we go. Just have the scar smaller. Just have the scar, like, over the bit where the mustache is. Like, to see the scar all here and then immediately cut to a mustache shot. It's like, okay. And then at the end of the film, we see him without his mustache. Also, I mean, are you, like, ending the franchise? Because I don't want to see him solving crimes without that mustache. That mustache is doing half the work. It's like, it's like his secret identity. No, not his secret identity. It's like his cape, Superman's got a cape, Batman's got a cape, Poirot's got a mustache. I want to see the mustache. As someone who's loved these I've really, really enjoyed them. I'm disappointed the movie ends. He's like, I don't have a mustache. And, it's all about the theme. All coming back together is like, maybe he's ready to find a new love since, like, he kind of vaguely hints that, his wife, or whatever, she died. In some horrible war kind of accident. Actually, when that scene happens, spectacular acting. Kenneth Branagh is spectacular in every scene. He steals this movie. He carries and lifts this movie above being just like a standard affair. Oh, no, I really liked it. What am I saying? But he was really good. He was easily the pinnacle of this movie. Just like the last one, he carries it. He's great. And this amazing moment where he's like, talking about his love and he's saying stuff and he's kind of going, he's had a bit of cheeky champagne and he's talking and talking. And then he goes to, like, actually explain what happened. And he starts talking about, like, a mortar and a train or something like that. And he just, like, coughs up and he just, like, shuts down, stops talking immediately. And it was just powerful. Like, I was just like, oh, my Lord, it's so sad. Oh, so heartbreaking, so tragic. Really, really great stuff by him. Yeah, really good. But, yeah, he's just got a little scar at the end. Just a little scar at the end when he's like, I'm ready to be in love with this jazz lady. That moment where he's like, oh, I didn't think I'd love jazz. I have to keep listening to jazz, but I actually quite like it. Hilarious. The 7 people in the audience, we all loved it. Last thing about the mustache. Promise, last thing. I swear, in Murder on the Orient Express, the mustache is way bigger. Feels like it's way more, like, it kind of almost looks fake and ridiculous, where it's like almost glued onto his face, like going all the way across, like, it's like this whole thing. And this time, it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's just because the scar was so big, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see that big, glorious, bushy mustache that covers his whole face. Or maybe... oh, you know what it probably is? I watched it on my TV, which is a pretty big TV. Not the biggest TV, but it's, it's not tiny. Seeing it on that, the mustache seems bigger. And then when I went to see it at a big, giant VMAX cinema, the mustache looked a bit smaller. Maybe, but I kind of felt like the mustache was smaller in this one. But, I don't know. Too much mustache talk. I've got to stop. So this film is a glorious, expensive, colourful, vibrant film. We've got blue skies, we've got the ocean, we've got the desert sands of Egypt, we've got giant pyramids, CGI pyramids that look amazing, or maybe they're real, I don't know, it just looked amazing. All this stuff looked great. It was very grand and just bombastically kind of like colourful and expensive. The big boat they're on, all the glorious cinematography shots of the boat. There's really great like movement throughout the boat. It's just this like one big set and the camera like moves through the corridors of the boat and around the boat, and just a really fun interplay with how we interacting with the boat and all the characters on the boat. There's a really great sense of being on this boat. And I think it's kind of elevated compared to the train, where the train you've got this little thing and everyone's in their little cabins. In this, there's just a lot more room to move around. Everyone's outside the boat, inside the boat. And yeah, just really loved all that stuff. Really, really fun, really exciting kind of way the camera kind of worked and all this stuff. And now the characters. So we've got a Gal Gadot. We've got an Armie Hammer. We've got lots of other people. Everyone's really great in this. We've got a lot of people. Everyone's a lot of fun. It's really, as someone who I haven't seen any of the movies, haven't seen the books. So this is my first Death on the Nile experience. So I have no idea if they've changed anything or done any of that. So if, I'm sorry if you're like, I can't wait for him to tear apart that changed the canon of Death on the Nile. How dare they change the book like that? I have no idea. As far as I'm aware, this is what it is. And I found it thoroughly engaging, because you're kind of waiting, you're like, all right, murder mystery, it's a murder movie, we're going to have a murder mystery. So who's going to get murdered? And so the whole first hour, I'm like, who is going to get murdered? I don't know, it was really kind of fun and fascinating to kind of piece it all together. And then there's a moment where there's a scuffle and a bang and a shooting, and I'm like, ho, Gal Gadot is upstairs getting killed right now. I called it! Maybe because it's super obvious, or maybe just because I'm a genius. Who knows? Maybe I'm Hercule Poirot. Maybe I've got a giant... I don't. My mustache is very standard and normal. So we have a lot of fun piecing together, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. We go into this big cavern. Someone tries to kill Armie Hammer and Gal Gadot, and we have this other woman who keeps appearing, and she's like, you took my sexy, giant, muscly husband away. How dare you? I'm going to do something about this. And the whole time, I'm like, it's so clearly her. She's got so much motive. She's at one point she pulls out a gun. She's like, Kenneth Branagh, I've got this 22 caliber gun or whatever, and I'm gonna shoot everyone. I'm gonna be the murderer of this movie. And it's so obvious. It's so it's the whole time I'm like, well, okay, she's out. It's not her. Because it's way too obvious. So I'll get rid of her though. And then I'm like, okay, Armie Hammer, the boyfriend. Because the whole time it's like, Gal Gadot's like, I'm so scared. So you're like, even before she dies, I'm like, who wants to kill her and why? Piecing it all together, trying to figure it all out. And I'm like, the boyfriend, what do they say? What do cops say? 98% of the time or whatever, it's always the boyfriend. Someone is the boyfriend. So my first thought was, it's the boyfriend. It's gonna be the boyfriend. It's gonna be Armie Hammer. Well, the husband, I suppose, but whatever. You know what I mean? And so I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be him. But it can't be him, because he's got the gunshot and the leg. And okay, so maybe it's her again. But it can't be her, because she shot him in the leg when it happened. And, oh my God, so who is it? And I kept going, and all the mysteries playing. He's talking to everyone. He's like, I got this giant mustache, and maybe you're the killer because of love, something to do with love. The theme of this movie is love, and it just keeps going, and it's a lot of fun. Kenneth Branagh is just absolutely killing it. He's just so good. He's so good. I can't stress how much I enjoy his performance as Poirot. I really do want to check out that show that everyone loves that's got the kind of the famous portrayal, because I think maybe I just love the character. Well, I do love the character, but I'm curious to see how someone else handles it, because I can't imagine Kenneth Branagh as everyone's favorite. I wonder if people like his at all compared to kind of the more classic one that everyone loves from ages that had 1,000 episodes. But I really like it. He's really great. Love Kenneth Branagh. Love what he does with the movie. Great looking movie, great everything. So yeah, I thought it was the husband. Thought it was the estranged lady who, the scorned woman. But it can't be them. Turns out it was them. Has the classic scene where he's like, the murderer's in this room and you're not live in this room, and I'm going to explain the murder now. And he explains it all. It's a little bit like, and you ran really quickly all the way up there and you did it all. And I'm like, what? He ran really quickly. From what we saw earlier, he did not have time to do that. But I do really like the fact that because of that, it just means that he ran up there, just put the gun to her head and just shot her, just like that, and just bam, and just ran back down, shoots himself in the leg. That's kind of the bit where I just went, oh, wow, oh, okay, of course. And then that, and as Poirot was going, and my brain's just connecting all the dots as well, and it's like, oh my God, he's such a better detective than I am. I never would have pieced this all together. This is so good. Really liked all that stuff. And at the end, I'm like, oh, this is my first Poirot experience where he's got them all in the room. The classic thing that I'm aware of, even though I've not seen any of it. I must have seen my mum watching in the background of the TV years ago or something like that. But they're all in the room, but it's not all of them this time. Like last time where he's like, it's all of you and I'm letting you go. This time it's like, okay, he's got the gun, but they're on a boat. Like, what's going to happen now? And everyone's pointing guns at each other. And she's like, hugging and they're kissing. And then she shoots both of them. Kills herself and Armie Hammer. And it's like, oh my lord, like so shocking and brutal and just, I don't know, very tragic. But the one aspect of this whole thing that I kind of really brings the emotion out is the fact that they killed Book. Like the sidekick. They killed Batman's Robin. They killed Book, and I felt sick. Like, I generally was like, oh my god, like, what the hell's the third movie going to look like? Well, he doesn't have a mustache, so I guess there's not going to be a third movie. Which I'm disappointed about, but I don't know. Maybe these don't do well. Like, I don't... Whatever, I know. And so, Book dying is sickening, heartbreaking, and tragic. It definitely works to kill a beloved character, to kill someone we love. You know, really hurts us. It hurts Kenneth Branagh. He like walks into that final scene and he's like, how dare you kill Book? And you know, when everyone's getting revealed and stuff, you know, the mother is turning, she's like, you killed my son! My son! And it's just like powerful and heartbreaking. But a part of me just feels like it's like a little bit like, I don't know, used to like kind of force the emotions, like maybe add something to it. Just, I don't know. I guess I was just really disappointed that he died. I was just like, oh. Sometimes a death can really work and you're kind of like, oh, it's heartbreaking, sad, but I understand for the story and all the things. But I was just like, no, I wanted him to survive. I wanted him to go off and live with that lady and then in 3 years' time be like, Poirot, I'm on this bus. Why are you on this bus? Oh no, there better not be a murder on this bus. And then they're both on the bus and there's a murder on the bus and it's like Agatha Christies / Speed 3 / murder on the speed bus or whatever, you know, and you know, this time it's snowing and it's sunny or something, you know, a combination of everything. That sounds like the worst movie ever made. I'm so sorry for it. Even just, you know, pitching that atrocious movie. But you know what? I would love to see it if it had Kenneth Branagh as Poirot and the actor who plays Book's Book. I really like them together. Really fun dynamic. He has some really great scenes in the movie. Some really like beautiful moments. There's like one moment where they're talking. He's like, and they're all just having a bit of fun. And then they go sit down. It's like a really beautiful scene where he like speaks about being in love for the proper love for the first time. Because the theme is love. If you missed it, the other 15 times they mentioned it. But yeah, really like that. That's kind of the big kicker at the end of the movie. That kind of just like leaves you being like, oh, it's brutal. And then the murder is revealed and then it ends. And then we get a final scene where Kenneth Branagh, 6 months later, because he can't say to the lady as she's leaving, you know, everyone's like saying their goodbyes, leaving the boat, and he goes to say something to the lady that maybe he's flirting with all the movie, which is really great fun stuff. And then he goes, and he can't say it. And I'm like, oh, because he's still holding on to Katarina, something, one of those, or something similar. His long lost love. And then we cut 6 months later, and then he's in a jazz bar listening. They're like, it's bloody closed, mate. Get out of here. And then he's just like, I don't give a goddamn. Look at my scarred, non-mustache face. And we see the scar for the first time. And it's a little scar across the upper lip. Nothing like the horrific scarring we saw that he definitely would have had. His face was completely blown apart, like he looked like Two-Face. So, I don't know. Very over the top. I don't know why they did it so dramatic. Doesn't make sense for what they're going to show later. Whatever. Nitpick. Tiny nitpick. But you start the movie like that. And I understand what you want to do. Is like, he shaved his mustache. He shaved the mustache and the facade of Poirot. He's hidden his, you know, ability to feel and love. He's just an obsessive crime solver man, you know. He's very much like Batman, actually, you know, but instead of a Batman cape and costume, he's got a mustache. So he takes the cowl off, very much like Batman at the end of Dark Knight Rises. He's like, I'm no longer Batman. I'm in a cafe with my lover. This time he's in a cafe without a mustache. Not in a cafe, sorry. He's in a jazz bar. And he's listening to the lady he loved, and she's singing jazz in the face of black. And so I guess that's it. I guess Agatha Christie's Kenneth Branagh crossover murder trilogy is now a murder duology. So that's a shame. To be fair though, I've only heard of 2 other books, or Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, so maybe there isn't a third very classic one that idiots like me that don't read books and don't know her very well aren't going to go see the third title, because you'll just hear that third title and be like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Who's that guy on the front of the poster without a mustache? And lots of other famous people. All movies have famous people. What is this? Whereas these 2 titles pop out and you're like, it's that lady that makes the mystery books. It's one of her movies, you know? So maybe that's it. Or maybe what I'm saying right now is nonsense gibberish, and anyone who knows anything about Agatha Christie is screaming at me. So if all those people screaming at me I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you listened to this. I don't know why. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know what's a great Agatha Christie book to read, or better yet, a movie adaptation that's good. Let me know what good movie adaptations there are. I'm going to check them all out. I'm definitely going to check out these two from that Poirot series that everyone rants about. Because I really want to see it. I really, really love her writing style. I have to presume these movies are similar to that in ways, if not probably lesser versions than her books. I presume they're really good and, the writing's all better and everything. But the mysteries are really, really fun. Somehow they can make it super obvious who it is, then be like, well, it can't be them. And then later when it's like, well, it was obviously them, you idiot. But it doesn't make me feel like an idiot. It makes me feel like Poirot is a genius. And I really like that. The performances are really, really fun. The location, the beautiful Egypt sun was great. I kind of sounded like I was being facetious earlier, but I really love that the first one is on a train in the snow, and now this one's in the bright sunny sun. Everyone's hot and sweaty, and it's just a beautiful kind of parallel setting. And now we're on a boat instead of a train. It's always moving, always trapped and confined, but moving. I loved it. I had a really, really good time. Bloody check it out. Why am I saying that? This is a spoiler review. You've already seen it. I'd love to know what you all think. Was it all big yays? Or were you like, no, Jax, this sucked. You're an idiot. Watch the 70s one, or that show you keep talking about. Whatever that's called. Poirot, probably. Just probably called Poirot. I'll Google it later. It's fine. I'll find it.